I took a DNA test, discovered my wife's affair that had been going on for 12 years and then disappeared from everything. Cheating had destroyed everything. When I think back on how my life turned upside down, it feels surreal, even though, looking back, the signs were always there. I always prided myself on being dependable, someone people could trust. Family was my top priority, and I believed in loyalty, my loyalty and the loyalty of those I loved. Sure, there were moments of doubt, insecurities I couldn't shake, but I clung to the hope that the family life I'd built was solid, unbreakable. But even then, there were nights when I couldn't sleep, wondering about Ava's absences, her long work trips, and the little changes in her behavior that I never had the courage to confront. The day I hired Mason Jennings, the private investigator, I felt a mix of guilt and dread. That was the moment everything changed, pulling me into a world of distrust and paranoia. I never imagined I'd be the kind of man who'd have to spy on his wife, but the fear had grown too big to ignore. I had no idea just how much it would tear my life apart, how badly the truth would hurt. Sitting in Adam's office that day, holding that envelope, I knew things would never be the same again. "I'm afraid I've got some bad news, Mr. Foster," Adam said as he handed me an envelope. Inside, there were pages detailing my wife's affair with her old boss, Nick Potter. Along with the written report were photos and a DVD. Some of the photos I'd already seen, but I hadn't been able to bring myself to watch the video yet. I couldn't look Adam in the eyes, but I knew I had to face the facts. "How long has this been going on?" I asked, my voice shaky. Adam glanced at his report before answering. "From what we can tell, at least 10 years, he said, pausing before adding, "maybe even 12. It seems to have started around the time your wife was up for the promotion. That was about a year after your daughter, Helen, was born." That hit me like a punch to the gut. My mind raced. Then another thought struck me. "I need to do a DNA test to make sure the kids are really mine," I said. But then another, even darker thought came to mind. "What about sexually transmitted diseases?" I asked, my voice heavier than before. The report revealed that Nick, along with Ava, had been involved with several other married women. I couldn't believe it. How could she put me at risk like that? I looked at the report again and couldn't help but bitterly laugh at Adam's note that Ava seemed blissfully unaware of what Nick was doing when he wasn't with her. "If it helps at all," Adam added, "Nick said he never wanted to break up your marriage. All he wanted was her body. And they never did anything at your house." I had hired Adam to set up cameras and microphones in her home. At least, I thought bitterly, I could take comfort in knowing Nick hadn't been in my own bed. But honestly, it felt like no comfort at all. "No, that's no comfort, Mr. Jennings," I said, meeting his gaze. "But thank you for telling me. I'd met Nick Potter a few times and I never liked him. He was one of those guys who was handsome, sure, but his smug, arrogant attitude made my skin crawl. That look on his face, that smirk, it always drove me up the wall. There were times I wanted to slap it off his face. Now, I understood why he had that damn look." "There's more," Adam said, his tone turning serious. "From what we've gathered, Nick's sister, Monica, knew about the affair from the beginning. In fact, it looks like she might have helped them." That hurt. I'd always thought Monica was a kind person, the total opposite of her brother. "Damn," I muttered, feeling the full weight of the betrayal. "Have you spoken to a lawyer yet?" Adam asked, breaking the silence. "Not yet," I replied. I wanted to know the truth first. "Well, I work closely with Chloe Graham. She's the best at what she does, and she can't stand cheaters," he said. "If you want, I can send her this file and let her know you'll be reaching out." "That'd be great," I said. "Thanks." I took the card he handed me, stuffing it into my pocket. Adam paused for a moment, then spoke again. "Can I give you some advice?" "Sure," I nodded, feeling numb. "Let Chloe handle it. I know you're angry and you probably want to lash out, but trust me, it's not worth risking jail time. You've got 2 kids to think about," he said softly. "I understand," I replied. "Thanks, Adam." I paid the bill and left his office, feeling like everything I thought I knew about my marriage had been a lie. It was hard to accept, but Adam was right. I sat in my car, tears starting to fall as the reality of everything hit me. Then, after a few deep breaths, I pulled out the business card Adam had given me, called Chloe Graham office, and set up an appointment for the next day. Chloe gave me a list of documents to bring to our meeting, and on my way home, I stopped at a convenience store to buy a pack of cigarettes. A habit I'd kicked back in college. Then, I drove to a bar to try and drown my pain in a few beers. I've never been one for drinking much, but that night, grabbing a drink felt completely justified. I sat at the bar, lighting up a cigarette, when the bartender leaned in and asked, "You doing all right, pal?" His question caught me off guard. "Am I really that obvious?" "Yeah," he answered with a gentle smile. Let me guess. Just found out your wife stepped out on you? Pretty much nailed it, I admitted. Been happening right under my nose for 12 long years, if you can imagine. He nodded slowly, as if he'd heard it all before. Believe me, nothing surprises me anymore. You see and hear everything working a place like this. I bet, I said quietly. He chuckled, leaning forward slightly. Mind if I share some wisdom from my grandpa? Sure, I replied, curious despite the ache I felt inside. He used to say, I felt bad because I didn't have shoes, until I met someone without feet. Trust me, I know it hurts right now. I've been there myself. But things do get better. And there's always someone else who's had it worse. Your grandpa sounds like a wise man, I replied, taking another sip. He was, the bartender agreed. Finish your beer, son. Go home. Keep yourself busy. You won't find any solutions at the bottom of a glass. I nodded, appreciating his honesty. I lingered a bit longer, slowly drinking and replaying years of memories with Ava, reflecting on little moments that had sparked doubts. Moments I'd quickly dismissed out of trust. Like after our second daughter, Helen, was born. I'd had a vasectomy, yet Ava continued using birth control. When I'd asked her about it, she casually explained it away, claiming it helped regulate her cycle and provided an extra safety net. It struck me as odd, but I trusted her completely. Knowing what I knew now, those small details finally made painful sense. Then there were the times I'd called during her supposed work trips. She always answered from her hotel room, but often there were odd pauses or muffled male voices. And occasionally, after these trips, I'd catch a whiff of Nick's distinctive cologne on her clothes, a scent I'd learned to recognize after meeting him a handful of times. I'd always convinced myself it meant nothing, but I knew better now. Leaving the bar, I drove home almost in a daze, mentally bracing for the confrontation that lay ahead. Arriving home, I was surprised to see Ava's car already parked in the garage. I walked in, hung up my jacket, and headed straight to my office. Ava intercepted me in the hallway, quickly noticing the smell of cigarettes and beer. Were you smoking? She asked, her brow furrowed. And drinking too? Is everything all right, Adam? No, I replied bluntly. Today has been the worst day of my life. She seemed genuinely alarmed. Did something terrible happen? Did someone pass away? Part of me believed her concern, yet another part wondered if it was all just an act. I'm heading to my office for the night. I'm not good company right now. Can I help in any way? She offered softly. There were so many things I wanted to say, but I held back. No, I don't think you can. She hesitated briefly. By the way, Adam, I need to leave town this weekend. It's only Tuesday and you're already letting me know you won't be around for the weekend? Yes, something important came up. It's just business, she insisted. Sure, I scoffed sarcastically. Did you forget about Helen's birthday on Saturday? She sighed, obviously uncomfortable. I know, but this trip can't be avoided. Could you explain it to her? I shook my head firmly. No, I'm not covering for you anymore. You missed Aaron's birthday last year and our anniversary too. Tell Helen yourself why being with Nick is more important than her birthday. Ava's eyes flashed with irritation. Come on, Adam. That's not fair. Really? I challenged. You supposedly retired months ago after the company was sold. Yet you've been away more than ever. What exactly have you been up to? She immediately grew defensive. Are you seriously accusing me of having an affair? If our roles were reversed, what would you think? I asked plainly. Her shoulders sagged as the fight drained from her expression. I understand, she said quietly, her voice softer now. But I swear, it really is just business. Yeah, that's always your line, I said bitterly. I've got things to handle tonight. Please, just leave me alone. You need to watch the kids. Without another word, I walked into my office, shutting and locking the door behind me. Moments later, Ava tried the doorknob, knocking softly. Adam, please, she whispered. Can we talk? Leave it alone, Ava. I snapped through gritted teeth. I'm busy. There was a brief silence before I heard her footsteps fading down the hall. I took a deep breath, sat at my desk, and began organizing all the evidence I'd collected, the documentation Chloe had requested. Picking up the report Adam had handed me earlier, each line felt like a blow, forcing me to face the painful reality about the woman I'd loved and trusted for 12 long years. I put on my headphones, loaded the video disc, and prepared myself emotionally. Watching it, every bit of warmth and affection I'd ever felt toward Ava melted away into an icy numbness. Their intimate conversations twisted my stomach, but I forced myself to keep listening. "We're still good for this weekend, right?" Nick asked, holding Ava close. "Absolutely," Ava replied warmly. "You know I can't stand being apart from you for very long." "But isn't your daughter's birthday this weekend?" Nick seemed concerned. She brushed it off casually. "Yes, but Adam will handle it. He's always been better with the kids anyway, and given the choice, I'd rather spend the time with you." Nick hesitated, a worried look flickering across his face. "Don't you think he's going to get suspicious? Shouldn't we be careful?" Ava laughed softly, shaking her head confidently. "Nick, retired or not, I won't give you up. I love Adam and the kids in my own way, but this thing between us, it's mine, and I'm never letting it go." I ripped off the headphones, my pulse pounding angrily in my ears. After placing the disc back in its protective case, I locked it away securely just as Ava gently knocked on my office door. "Adam?" Her voice was soft, almost pleading. "What is it?" I snapped. "Could you come say goodnight to the kids?" "Fine, just for a minute," I said curtly, brushing past her as I headed upstairs. In Helen's room, I tried to maintain a calm face as I tucked her into bed. "Are you all right, Dad?" she asked softly, sensing my distress. "I'm okay, sweetheart," I reassured her with a forced smile. "Everything's fine. Now go to sleep, I love you." "Love you too, Dad," she said, giving me a quick hug. Ava was waiting in the hallway as I left the room. "I warmed some dinner up for you." "It's on the table," she said gently. "Not hungry," I replied coldly, pushing past her to step outside onto the patio. Sitting under the night sky, I lit another cigarette, staring into the darkness. A few minutes later, Ava joined me, trying to lean in for a kiss, but I turned away, letting her lips barely touch my cheek instead. "What's wrong?" she asked, clearly hurt. "I've never seen you act like this." "Guess we don't always get what we want," I said bitterly. "What's that supposed to mean?" she asked, confusion and worry filling her voice. I shook my head slowly, exhaling smoke. "Just forget it, Ava." "Adam, please," she urged softly. "Whatever it is, you can tell me." "It's a little late for that," I said bluntly. "Too late?" "I don't understand," her voice trembled slightly. "Come on, Ava," I said sharply. "You're smart. You figure it out." Tears welled up in her eyes as she stepped back. "If you'd just talk to me." "Drop it, Ava," I snapped, anger breaking through my voice. "I just need some space right now." She hesitated before finally nodding. "Okay," she whispered quietly, turning back toward the house as tears began to run down her face. I stayed out there, smoking and lost in thought, until well past midnight, eventually heading inside to sleep on the futon in my office. The next morning, I prepared breakfast for the kids, deliberately ignoring Ava as she lingered nearby, clearly distressed. After the kids left for school, I left for work without saying a word to her. At the office, I explained everything to my supervisor. He listened sympathetically, patting my shoulder supportively. "Do whatever you need, Adam. If you need time off, just let me know." "Thanks," I said, grateful for his understanding. Later that day, I met with Chloe Graham, my divorce lawyer. She greeted me warmly as I entered her office. "Good afternoon, Mr. Foster," she said, extending her hand. "Please, just call me Adam," I replied. "Then call me Chloe," she said kindly, offering a compassionate smile. "I went through everything Mr. Michael sent over. I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. Seeing evidence like this never gets easier. How are you holding up?" "Honestly, not great," I admitted. "That's understandable," Chloe replied. "Have you confronted your wife yet?" "Not really. I was short with her last night, but that's it." "Try to keep your composure," Chloe advised gently. "For now, let her think nothing's changed. She'll have to face reality soon enough." "I'll try," I said, feeling resolve building within me. "What are your main goals in the divorce?" Chloe asked. "To get as much as I can, especially custody of our kids," I stated firmly. Chloe paused thoughtfully. "Typically, custody favors the mother." "I've been the primary caregiver for years," I argued. "Even Ava admits on video I'm better with the kids. And she clearly prioritizes her affair over Helen's birthday. Doesn't that matter?" Chloe nodded thoughtfully. "It certainly helps. We'll definitely use that to strengthen our position." She reviewed my finances carefully. "Your wife received substantial funds when her company sold, and her monthly dividend payments nearly equal your salary. That should work strongly in your favor." So no alimony? I asked hopefully. Little to none, she confirmed. If you're awarded primary custody, we might even push for her to pay child support. And the house? I asked. If you gain custody, you'll likely stay in the house, and we can request she continues paying half the mortgage. If custody goes to her, you'll be responsible for half the mortgage and child support, Chloe explained. Another possibility is selling the house and dividing the profits equally. What about our pensions and retirement accounts? I asked quietly. We can keep those accounts separate from the division, Chloe assured me firmly. Each of you would retain your own 401k accounts, Chloe explained calmly. Everything else typically gets split evenly. What about Nick Potter? I asked, leaning forward anxiously. Can we sue him for alienation of affection or something like that? Unfortunately, that's not recognized in this state, Chloe replied sympathetically. But we can absolutely bring him into the proceedings as part of the divorce itself. We might try suing for intentional infliction of emotional distress, though it's a long shot. What about Monica? I pressed further. She knew everything, maybe even helped them. Chloe nodded slowly, contemplating. It's similar with her, but we can certainly pursue it if that's what you'd prefer. Yes, let's go ahead, I affirmed. How soon can you have all this ready? Everything will be finalized by Friday, she assured me. Perfect, I said decisively. I want Ava served late Saturday night. She'll be at Nick's place then. Chloe raised an eyebrow, understanding my intentions clearly. A bit of shock and awe? I can arrange it. Weekend service does cost extra, though. That's fine, I insisted firmly. Make it happen. Understood, Adam, Chloe agreed, shaking my hand firmly as I left her office. She gently reminded me not to do anything impulsive, then accepted the deposit check. Leaving her office, I felt a renewed sense of control and purpose. When I arrived home, Ava's car was already parked in the garage, which surprised me since it was only Wednesday. Curious, I touched the hood. It was warm, indicating she'd just returned. Inside, the smell of dinner wafted through the air. Hey, honey! Ava greeted me cautiously from the kitchen. You're home early. Is everything all right? Yes, I replied flatly. She watched me closely. Feeling better than yesterday, I hope? A bit. Taking control of things now. Glad to hear it, she said carefully. I made your favorite roast. Hungry? Yeah, I'll have some, I replied, drawn by the aroma. Smells good. Did you go into work today? I asked casually. Only for a few hours, she said quickly. Just prepping for the weekend. Did you talk to Helen about missing her birthday? I asked pointedly. I did, Ava admitted reluctantly. She's disappointed, but she'll get over it. Where are the kids now? In their rooms doing homework, she replied softly. Still planning the trip with Nick? I asked bluntly. It's purely business, she insisted defensively. When do you think you'll fully retire for real? I asked sarcastically. I'm already retired, Ava reminded me gently. They just call me occasionally. Who knows how long they'll keep needing me. With all the time you spend, maybe they should be paying you, I said dryly. Why do you say that? She asked sharply. Because I'll be bringing more in once I'm retired, I retorted calmly, walking away to place my briefcase in the office and change into casual clothes. At dinner, I complimented the meal. Ava was always a great cook, something I genuinely miss. After spending quality time with the kids, I retreated to my office and locked the door. Ava tried opening it, then knocked quietly when she realized it was locked. I opened it slightly, just enough to speak. Adam, are you staying in there tonight? She asked softly. Yes, I replied evenly. I need some space, and I don't want you getting sick before your trip. I'll sleep on the futon. She nodded reluctantly. All right, get some rest, Adam. I love you. Yeah, I murmured, closing the door firmly. Hearing her footsteps fade away, I turned to my computer and began searching for information. Once I'd found what I needed, I filled out a form, checked for email confirmation, noted the necessary phone number, and set a reminder to call and verify everything tomorrow. Thursday went similarly, though Ava tried a different approach, coming to me in an enticing nightgown, hoping I'd join her in bed. She looked beautiful, but the image of her betrayal erased any attraction. "Sorry, Ava," I said softly. "I've got a horrible migraine tonight. I'll take something and sleep here." A single tear rolled down her cheek as she turned away, but I felt no pity. Around noon the next day, she called to say she was leaving. "Feel better, Adam?" she said tenderly. "Maybe when I'm back on Monday we can reconnect. My parents will pick up the kids today and drop them off tomorrow for Helen's party." "Thanks for letting me know," I replied evenly. "I really do love you, Adam," she insisted softly. "Sure," I said coolly. "Bon voyage, Ava." After hanging up, I immediately called Chloe. "Adam, I'm finalizing everything now," she confirmed. "The documents will be served at Nick's house tomorrow evening at exactly 6 o'clock. Monica's papers will be filed on Monday." "Thanks, Chloe," I replied, relieved as I ended the call. I informed my assistant I was heading home, locked my office, and drove back with plenty to handle before the movers arrived. Boxes I'd prepared earlier were waiting in the garage. By 5, the movers had everything loaded. Separately, I took Ava's wedding dress, carefully folded it into a paper bag, added an envelope containing a brief note, my wedding ring, and our torn marriage certificate. I handed it all to one mover, instructing him to deliver it personally to Ava at Nick's home the following evening at 5:30. I slipped 2 $50 bills into their hands as tips, thanking them quietly as they drove away. "I'll handle this myself, Mr. Foster," the young mover assured me, carefully accepting the package. "Thanks," I replied, grateful. Afterward, I reheated some leftover roast and settled into the living room, eating quietly while watching television. That night, I slept peacefully in the master bedroom for the first time in days, waking refreshed just before noon when Ava's parents arrived with the kids. I'd already been busy since early morning, preparing everything in the backyard for Helen's birthday party scheduled for 3 o'clock. Ava had ordered the cake, which I'd picked up earlier and placed in the fridge. "You've been really busy," Ava's mom, Barbara, noted as she entered. "Didn't have much of a choice," I said with a tired smile. "Just want to make sure everything goes perfectly." "I'm sure it'll be wonderful," she reassured me. "Helen mentioned Ava won't make it?" "She did," I confirmed, trying to keep my voice neutral. Barbara shook her head sadly. "I can't believe she'd miss this. Is everything all right between you two?" After sending the kids upstairs to get ready, I turned to Barbara and Robert, Ava's dad. "Honestly, things aren't good," I confessed. "You'll find out soon enough. I'm filing for divorce." "Divorce?" Robert exclaimed, stunned. "Why?" "Ava's been having an affair with Nick Potter, her old boss," I explained bluntly. "It's been going on for 12 years. She's with him right now, actually." "Oh my God," Barbara gasped. "Are you absolutely certain?" "Completely," I replied. "I hired an investigator after she retired. There's a detailed report with photos and videos." "I don't need to see that," Barbara said gently. "But is there no way to work this out?" "Not anymore," I said firmly. "I'd like to see that report," Robert said sternly. "I just can't believe she'd do something this reckless." "I'll finish setting up outside while you review it," Barbara offered helpfully. I thanked her, then led Robert into my home office. Handing him the investigator's report, I watched as his expression darkened with each page. After finishing, he shook his head sadly. "This is unbelievable," Robert muttered. "Adam, I'm sorry you're going through this. Now you understand how I'm feeling," I said quietly. "What about Nick? Are you taking action against him?" Robert asked sharply. "Filed a lawsuit for emotional distress," I explained. "Wish I could do more, but I can't risk jail with the kids to think about." Robert nodded thoughtfully. "Listen, Adam, why don't you let me handle this? That guy's a predator. He deserves a lot worse than a lawsuit." "What do you have in mind?" I asked cautiously. "Less you know, the better," he said with a reassuring wink. "Don't worry. No one's going to jail. All right. I agreed, grateful for his support. Robert patted my shoulder firmly. Come on, let's go join the party. Outside, Barbara had everything ready. Helen raced downstairs, her eyes lighting up at the decorations. Thanks, Dad. This looks amazing. I wish Mom was here. Me too, I said softly. We'll take pictures for her. Okay. Helen smiled brightly. I fired up the grill, cooking burgers and hot dogs as guests arrived. Soon, the yard filled with laughter and playful shouts from Helen's school friends and their parents. Monica arrived late, accompanied by her husband Jim and daughter Megan. After guiding Megan to join the other kids, I offered Monica and Jim drinks, which they gladly accepted. Surprised you're here, Monica, I said casually. Thought you had a business trip with Nick and Ava? No, that's just Nick and Ava, she clarified. I handle things back at the office. Right, I nodded skeptically. Adam, is everything okay between you and Ava? Monica asked suddenly, eyeing me curiously. You're not wearing your wedding ring. Glancing down at my hand, I shrugged lightly. I gave it back. Maybe Nick will have better luck with it. What does that mean? She asked nervously. Come on, Monica, I said coolly, meeting her eyes steadily. Don't pretend you don't know. I know your brother Nick and Ava have been involved for 12 years, I said bluntly. You all did a remarkable job hiding it from me. Adam, Ava still loves you, Monica insisted weakly. Oh, sure, I retorted with bitter sarcasm. She loved me so deeply she spent over a decade lying and cheating behind my back. I've never felt so loved. What are you planning to do now? Monica asked, clearly uneasy. What do you think? I'm divorcing her, I responded sharply. Ava and Nick are both going to face the consequences of their actions. Are they being served? Monica asked softly. They sure are, I confirmed, glancing briefly at my watch. Ava will receive her divorce papers tonight, and I'm suing Nick. Your paperwork will be delivered Monday. Me, she protested. I haven't done anything. Exactly, I shot back coldly. For 12 years you knew everything they were doing. My investigator even thinks you may have helped them cover it up. All these years, you acted like my friend, sat at my table, enjoyed meals in my home while you knew exactly what was happening. Did you enjoy watching me get played for a fool? My family and marriage are destroyed and my kids have lost their mother because of all of you. Proud of yourself, Monica? I'm not proud at all, she whispered sadly. I'm truly sorry. Sorry doesn't erase 12 years of betrayal, I snapped. You, Nick, and Ava chose this path. You ignored what this would do to me and my kids and now you've got what you wanted. It's not like that, Adam, Monica argued weakly. Then what was it? Business? I asked angrily. Did it change after you sold the company and Ava supposedly retired? Monica hesitated before responding. At first, yes, it was business. Nick started it and Ava went along to secure her job. But things evolved over time. Did they now? I scoffed bitterly. Even after retirement, Ava chose to continue it. That was her decision, Monica admitted quietly. I thought it would stop, but she made her own choice. A terrible one, I said sharply. And you were still involved. Adam, I genuinely regret all of this, Monica said softly. We never intended to hurt you. But you did in the worst way imaginable, I replied firmly. I think it's time for you and your family to leave. She nodded quietly, turning to go. I called after her, Monica, don't ever come back. Tears streaming down her face, she walked away, joining Jim and Megan. At that moment, Ava and Nick lay relaxed in his bed when Ava's phone chimed. Expecting photos from Helen's party, she reached over casually and saw a text from Monica. He knows everything. Oh no, Ava murmured in shock. What's wrong? Nick asked, concerned. Monica says Adam knows about us, Ava replied, quickly standing to get dressed. You sure you need to leave? Nick questioned, unsure. Definitely, Ava insisted, pulling on her robe urgently. Just then, the doorbell rang, startling both of them. Who could that be? Nick muttered, hastily dressing and heading downstairs, Ava following nervously behind. At the door stood a man holding an envelope. Are you Nick Potter? Yes, Nick replied cautiously. And Ava Foster is here as well? That's me, Ava acknowledged timidly. I need to deliver these, he stated firmly. What's this about? Nick asked, reaching for his ID. Without another word, the man checked Nick's identification and handed over an envelope. You've been served, he declared, turning to Ava. I need your ID as well, Miss Foster. Ava showed her license and he handed her another envelope. You've also been served. There's a restraining order included. You must stay at least 400 feet away from Adam Foster, his home, workplace, and children's school. Violating this order could lead to arrest. Good luck. As he left, another man approached, casually dressed. Ava Foster? That's me, she responded nervously. He handed her a paper bag with an envelope attached. This is for you, ma'am. I've got more boxes in the truck. Where should I put them? Nick and Ava exchanged uneasy glances. Just put them in the front room, Nick finally said. Will do, the mover replied, signaling his crew. They quickly brought several boxes inside. Ava opened the envelope and saw Adam's wedding ring, their torn marriage certificate, and a typed note. Her eyes filled with tears as she read. Ava, throughout our marriage, I loved and supported you. Imagine my shock discovering your 12-year affair with Nick Potter. You've repaid my love with deception and betrayal. You claimed this was all just business, but now I see the painful truth. I hope it was worth the cost. You should contact an attorney immediately. Our finances have already been separated and the locks at home are changed. I've been the main caregiver for the kids throughout your affair, so I'm pursuing full custody but won't prevent you from visitation. Have your lawyer speak directly with mine to finalize these details. All your belongings have been delivered to Nick's address. If there's anything else you want, coordinate it through legal counsel. I don't wish to see or hear from you again. For the children's sake, don't contest the divorce terms. But if you do, I'm fully prepared to fight. I have ample evidence, photos, videos, and detailed investigative reports. The kids don't know why we're divorcing yet, but I'll tell them when the time feels right. Your parents have already seen the investigative report and know the truth about our sham of a marriage. Ava, as far as I'm concerned, you're dead to me. Goodbye. Signed, Adam. With tears streaming down her face, Ava opened the paper bag and found ashes, the remains of her wedding dress. Overwhelmed, she collapsed into sobs as Nick picked up the letter and read it. That arrogant fool, Nick growled angrily. He thinks he can humiliate us like this? Nick, don't, Ava pleaded softly. Please don't do anything rash. This is all my fault. He's suing me for emotional distress for $5 million, Nick replied coldly. I'll call my lawyer right away. Do you think he'll target Monica too? Ava asked anxiously. Let's find out, Nick said decisively, picking up his phone. If so, we'll need a strategy. Back at home, after Helen's birthday party had ended, I stood amidst the leftover chaos when Helen approached, eyes brimming with tears. What's wrong, sweetheart? I asked, gently hugging her. I wish Mom had been here. I really miss her, she whispered sadly. I miss her too, I admitted softly, feeling the heaviness of the moment. But she chose other things. Are you getting divorced? She asked timidly, tears falling freely. We'll talk soon, okay? It's because of Nick, isn't it? Glenn interrupted, serious. Why do you think that? I overheard Mom talking to him, Glenn said matter-of-factly. I sighed, we'll discuss everything tomorrow. Let's clean up for now, all right? Okay, Dad, Glenn replied quietly. I hugged Helen tightly, wiping a tear from her cheek. Things will get better, honey. Barbara and Robert stayed behind briefly to help clean up. Are you sure you'll be all right, Adam? Barbara asked, concerned. Yes, thanks for everything, I assured them. Once they left, I secured the house and went straight to bed, falling asleep almost immediately. The next day, after a busy morning of yard work, Helen prepared sandwiches for lunch. After dinner that night, she looked at me directly. All right, Dad, what's really going on? She asked firmly. Knowing the moment had come, I gathered both kids in the living room. Your mother and I are getting divorced, I told them plainly. She cheated with Nick, didn't she? Glenn questioned knowingly. Yes, I replied quietly, nodding. I figured, Glenn sighed. I heard her talk to him like she talked to you. How long has it been? Helen asked sadly. 12 years, I admitted reluctantly. So, since shortly after I was born, Helen whispered bitterly. Yes, I confirmed. I hate her, Helen muttered sharply, then quickly apologized. I gently nodded, understanding her anger. Can I stay with you, Dad? She asked softly. Absolutely, I reassured her. Me too, Glenn echoed firmly. You've always been there for us. Their words warmed me deeply. We shared a heartfelt embrace, grateful to remain together. The following days settled into a calm routine. Barbara and Robert graciously helped after school and Barbara frequently cooked dinner, easing the load immensely. On Tuesday, my lawyer, Chloe, called. Ava wants to see the kids, she informed me. Uneasy about letting Ava visit our home, I voiced concerns about the restraining order. We can temporarily lift it from Friday evening through Sunday morning, Chloe suggested pragmatically. It's important to show you're reasonable. I proposed the kids visit Ava at her parents' house, arriving Friday and leaving Sunday with no contact from Nick or Monica. Chloe agreed and informed Ava's lawyer, who also requested the investigator's report to be delivered by Thursday. I learned Ava had hired Gina Gasper, known for disliking clients who cheat. The next day, Chloe confirmed Ava agreed to our terms. The restraining order lifted from midnight Saturday to noon Sunday, applicable solely to her. The kids reluctantly agreed to the arrangement. Robert and Barbara coordinated the logistics. Friday morning, I ensured the kids had everything necessary, hugged them tightly, and reminded them to call immediately if anything felt off. After I dropped the kids off at school that morning, I headed straight to work like any other day. That evening, Robert swung by and picked me up. We ended up at Flatstick Pub, a sports bar we both liked. It was the kind of place with burgers, beer, and way too many TV screens. As we sat there eating, Robert started catching me up. He said Ava showed up at the house around 9 in the morning. The kids weren't happy to see her, didn't even try to hide it. Then he dropped the bomb. She admitted to the affair. She says she still loves you, Robert added, watching my reaction. I shook my head. You think she's gonna try and patch things up? No way, I told him. 12 years of lying? I'm finished. Robert nodded slowly like he understood. But right then, out of nowhere, I felt something slam into the back of my head. Everything went fuzzy, and I collapsed to the ground. I looked up and saw Nick standing over me, screaming something about how he was going to liquidate me. Without thinking, I reacted. I kicked him hard and managed to knock him off balance. I scrambled up, tackled him, and started swinging. I was throwing punches, one after another, not even realizing he was already out cold. Robert and another guy had to drag me off him. Then everything faded to black. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. My head was pounding, my face bruised and bandaged. A doctor told me I'd be all right, just needed some rest. Robert was sitting there next to me with a grin on his face. You really gave it to him. He's not doing too well, Robert said. It was Nick, wasn't it? I asked, trying to sit up. Yeah. The Sunday morning now, and the police are here. They want to speak with you. A couple of officers came in, and the one in charge, Sergeant Stones, asked me to explain what happened. Nick came at me, I told him. I just defended myself. The sergeant nodded. We've got witnesses and security footage. Your story checks out. Do you want to press charges? Absolutely, I said without hesitation. I've already filed for a restraining order too. The officers left soon after, and before I could catch my breath, in walked Barbara, Ava, and the kids. I stared at Ava, confused. What's she doing here? I asked. My restraining order doesn't kick in until noon, she said quietly, looking embarrassed. Helen walked up, her eyes red. Are you okay, Dad? I'll be all right, sweetheart, I told her. Glenn smirked. Heard you knocked out Nick. Not exactly something I'm proud of, I said, glancing at Robert, who looked amused. Then Ava, in this small voice, asked if I was going to be okay. But before I could respond, Helen jumped in. Yes, we're going to take care of him, she said firmly. Glenn nodded, giving Ava a cold stare. Ava looked at both of them, then at me. If it's all right, I'd like to talk to your father alone for a few minutes. The kids looked unsure, but eventually they walked out with Robert and Barbara, leaving us alone. Ava pulled up a chair beside my bed and sat down, wringing her hands like she didn't know what to say. Adam, she began softly, I cannot begin to tell you how sorry I am for everything. I let out a tired sigh. Like I told Monica, sorry does not mean much at this point. You lied. You cheated for 12 years. And now you think an apology is going to fix all that. Were things really that bad? I asked. All I ever did was love you, support you. Was I such a terrible husband? You were the best husband and father anyone could ever ask for, she whispered, pain in her voice. But even that was not enough, was it? That is not how it happened, she said, almost desperate. Isn't it? I pushed. Because from where I'm lying, it sure looks that way. She looked down. At first, it was just to get the job. Nick said. Sleeping with him was part of the deal. He said it was expected. It was just business. I clenched my fists. That's sexual abuse, Ava. That's against the law. Why did you not come to me? We could have taken that guy down together. But no, you wanted that job bad enough to make a deal with the devil, and now here we are. Her voice trembled. It was a mistake. A deal with the devil, like you said. And now you want to blame the devil? I shook my head. No. The truth is, you made your choice. You were willing to betray me and tear apart our family for a job. She looked ashamed. I guess I convinced myself I could have both. Career and him. And you. So you caught feelings for him, didn't you? I asked. That's why it kept going. Was this some long-term plan? You thought I would never find out? She nodded slightly. Yes. I developed feelings. I thought maybe you loved me enough to let it slide, to let me have this one thing. I tried to keep it separate from our life. You tried. I said, stunned. Every minute you spent with him took something from me, from us. You stole time, trust, everything. Remember the idea of opportunity cost? Well, you chose him over our family. That's what you gave up. I never stopped loving you, she said, almost inaudibly. Maybe, I said. But you sure stopped respecting me. You told him you would carry on the affair forever, and if I found out and left you, you would accuse me of abuse. Did you really think I would not find out? Her face turned white. You heard that? Yes. And more. Like when you told Nick you would rather spend time with him than celebrate our daughter's birthday. What kind of mother says that? She winced, clearly shaken. I must be a horrible wife and mother. Those are your words, not mine, I said. But if the shoe fits. She looked up at me, her voice barely a whisper. Did you really take a DNA test? Yes, I said. Thankfully, both kids are mine. Her face crumpled. Oh my gosh. Did you really think I would go that far? After 12 years of lies and betrayal? Can you honestly blame me? She sat there in silence for a long time, then finally asked, what do you want me to do now? Sign the papers, Ava, I told her. Let's end this. End this lie of a marriage. Get help for yourself and for the kids. I do not want this to get any uglier than it already is, I told her. You are right, she said softly. I will sign the divorce papers. I am truly sorry, Adam, for everything I put you through. Maybe one day I will be able to forgive you, Ava, I said, though honestly, I was not sure if I meant it. Thank you for letting me see the kids this weekend, she added, her voice barely holding together. You are welcome, I replied. I know you probably do not believe me, but I still love you, she said, tears beginning to roll down her cheeks. I wish we could still be together. I don't believe you, I said honestly, but thanks for saying it. Maybe there will always be a small part of me that cares about you. But that is not enough anymore. Love without trust, it does not work. And after everything, I do not know if I will ever fully trust anyone again. She nodded slowly, her face crumbling under the weight of it all. I understand, she whispered. Then she leaned in and kissed me softly on the cheek. Goodbye, Adam. Goodbye, Ava, I said, watching as she quietly left the hospital room, wiping away her tears as she went. A few moments later, Robert, Barbara, and the kids came back in. You all right, son? Robert asked, eyeing me carefully. Yeah, I said, steadying my voice. We talked. I think she's starting to realize what she's done, what it's cost her. Helen looked up at me hopefully. Does this mean you and Mom are getting back together? I shook my head gently. No, sweetheart, I said softly. But you still love each other, she said, trying to hold onto something. Love is important, Sophia, I told her. But a marriage needs more than just love. It needs honesty and trust. And right now, I do not have that with your mom. Maybe one day you will understand. The doctor came in soon after, did one final check, and gave me the green light to go home. Robert drove us back, the kids riding quietly beside me, each lost in their own thoughts. The silence was heavy but familiar. That evening I got a call from Robert and Barbara. Their voices were shaken. Apparently Monica had stopped by Nick's house to pick up some of his things and she found Ava there, unconscious. She had taken a handful of sleeping pills and washed them down with alcohol. Next to her on the nightstand was a note that just said, I am sorry. She barely survived. The doctors kept her in the hospital for several days. After a full evaluation, they released her into Robert and Barbara's care, and she eventually moved in with them. Not long after, she signed the divorce papers. No fight. No negotiation. Just signed and done. My attorney, Chloe, told me I would officially be a free man in 90 days. Free. Yeah, that was exactly what it felt like. Meanwhile, Nick and his lawyer settled quickly. I ended up getting half of what I asked for. After legal fees, I walked away with a little over $3.5 million. I put aside $1 million each for Helen and Glenn so they could attend any college they wanted. With the rest, I started planning a Mediterranean cruise for us next summer. Nick was convicted of aggravated assault and attempted murder. The video footage made it an open-and-shut case. The judge handed down a 10-year prison sentence with a chance for parole after 8. After the dust settled, I saw Ava occasionally, mostly when I dropped off or picked up the kids from Robert and Barbara's. We spoke now and then, but I could never really look at her the same. The betrayal stuck with me like a scar. She started seeing a therapist, trying to figure out why she made the choices she did. It was a little too late for us, but over time she started patching things up with the kids. That was something I was grateful for. A few months passed and I finalized the cruise plans. During the trip I met someone, Olivia, a bright and warm-hearted woman from British Columbia. She was going through a divorce too. She had shoulder-length blonde hair and this hopeful energy about her. We spent a lot of time together on the ship talking, laughing, and sharing pieces of our past. We clicked in a way I had not expected. Helen would grin and tease me, "Daddy's got a girlfriend," humming like it was a secret tune only she knew. She'd nudge me in the ribs and I would just shake my head, smiling. When the cruise ended, Olivia and I exchanged emails and phone numbers. We kept in touch through video calls and emails, chatting a few times a week. Life after Ava was strange and hard at first, but slowly we found a new rhythm. My boss was understanding and gave me some flexibility at work. I was looking forward to the day Glenn would be old enough to help out with driving and taking Helen to school. The house started feeling like home again. Then one afternoon, Robert came by with a heavy look on his face. "They are planning to admit Ava to a psychiatric facility," he said quietly. "What? Why?" I asked, caught off guard. "Helen sent her a picture. It was just the three of you having dinner with that woman from the cruise," he said, meaning Olivia. Ava did not take it well. She completely broke down. He took a breath before continuing. "Barbara and I found her in the bathroom. She had cut her wrists." I sat down, the weight of it sinking into my chest. "Oh God! I am so sorry." There was part of me that felt heartbroken, but another part felt something else. Not satisfaction, but maybe closure. She finally understood some of the pain she had caused. "The doctors say with her history she needs full-time care," Robert explained. "Barbara and we are just too old to give her that. They think long-term treatment is the best option." "How long will she be there?" I asked. "No one really knows," he said. "Could be a few years. Maybe more. If there's anything I can do, let me know," I said sincerely. "Thank you, son." "I appreciate that," Robert said, giving me a nod before he headed out. In the middle of all that sadness and uncertainty, my relationship with Olivia kept growing. It felt like a new chapter. One that started with pain, but maybe, just maybe, was finally turning into something good. Olivia and I talked often. The more we opened up, the closer we got. I found myself thinking about her more and more, what it might be like to actually build a future together. Something steady. Something real. When I told her about Ava being back in the hospital, she was kind and understanding. She could see how it weighed on the kids and on Robert and Barbara too. A few days later, she invited me and the kids to come visit her up in northern British Columbia. Said her place was a cozy 2-story log cabin sitting on 50 acres of peaceful land. Honestly, I had never been past the northern United States border, so the idea grabbed me. Maybe it was more than just a visit. Maybe it could be the start of something new. But that's a story for another day. Back at home, life started settling into a groove. The kids were adjusting to our new normal without Ava around, and I was finally starting to find a rhythm that worked. My boss stayed supportive, letting me juggle work and family as best I could. And I kept looking ahead to the day when Glenn could take the wheel, literally, and help drive Helen around. Things weren't perfect, but they were moving in the right direction. Then, one evening, Robert showed up at the house without calling first. I could see the weight on his face before he even stepped through the door. "Come on in," I said, already bracing for something heavy. "What's going on, Robert?" He sighed, deep and tired. "Adam, the doctors have decided Ava needs a much longer stay in the hospital." I sat down slowly. "What happened now?" His voice dropped. "She had another episode. Helen sent some pictures from the cruise, ones with you and Olivia at dinner. I don't think Helen meant to cause harm, but Ava didn't take it well. It pushed her over the edge." I blinked, trying to process it. "She tried to hurt herself again," Robert continued quietly. "Barbara and I found her in the bathroom. She had cut her wrists." My heart sank. Oh my God. It was a strange mixture of emotions. Part of me hurt for her, but another part, deep down, felt closure. Not satisfaction, not revenge, but the sense that she finally understood the kind of pain she had passed on to the rest of us. Only now it was her carrying it. "She'll be there a while, won't she?" I asked. Robert nodded grimly. "Doctors say it might be years, maybe longer. Given her history, they say she needs round-the-clock care. Barbara and I, We just can't provide that anymore. I'm sorry to hear that, Robert. Really. And if there's anything I can do to help, just say the word. Thank you, son, he said, placing a hand on my shoulder. I thought you deserved to know. After he left, I sat in silence for a long while, just thinking. I did feel sadness for what Ava had become, for how far she had fallen. But at the same time, I could not ignore the peace I felt beginning to take hold. For the first time in years, I saw a light at the end of all this heartache. A chance to rebuild, to move forward with the kids, maybe even find joy again. Over the next few weeks, Olivia and I grew even closer. We talked every day, and the kids started warming up to the idea of visiting her in Canada. They were curious about her and excited for the trip. I could feel it. This was going to be something meaningful, a fresh chapter for all of us. I pictured her cabin, surrounded by trees and quiet skies, and I imagined that visit being the start of something new. A new place, a new direction. Something unburdened by the wreckage of the past. Looking back, it felt almost unreal how far we had come. But sometimes, it takes getting completely broken to see where you really belong. The pain Ava caused cut deep, but somehow, through that ache, I found people and places that helped me heal. Taught me strength I didn't know I had. My story, and my family's, was far from over. But now we were walking a path that felt right. Olivia, the kids, this new life. It gave me something I hadn't felt in a long, long time. Purpose. In the end, I learned something. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means living with the wounds, growing around them, and letting them shape you into someone wiser. Ava's betrayal tore apart the life I had built, but from those broken pieces, I made something stronger. Each day, I saw more clearly what still mattered. The sound of my kids laughing, the calm presence of someone who truly cared, the quiet understanding that comes after a storm. Moving forward didn't mean leaving everything behind. It meant carrying the lessons with me, knowing that sometimes, peace only shows up after you have fought the hardest battles.